Many questions on your mind, searched all around, but you couldn't find. Here's a program that's made for you, so your faith can be renewed. Oh, we know easy, yes we know, but you gon' make 'em for sure. We'll become the saints in jeans and shirt. CFFONTV on TV.
People say that life is a gamble, and I'm inclined to believe them because every new endeavor you undertake has a bit of uncertainty. But when people engage in some certain kinds of gambling, some kinds of betting, there's always a division within the body of Christ. Welcome to Catholic Faith Forum, and I'm your host, Chima, and with me today to discuss the issue of gambling is my lovely co-host, May. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you so much. You called me lovely.
Oh,
that's so
yeah,
sweet.
looking so sploofy. Let me give you today.
My head is swelling. Let me. It's okay.
And with us to discuss this is our wonderful, wonderful priest, Reverend Father JudeMary Owoh,
Friar J.
aka Friar J.
Friar J.
Again.
He's here
How you
again
doing?
to give it to you hot and spicy.
Nice one. All right, so stick with us. We'll be right back to discuss this issue of gambling. Don't go anywhere. Oh.
CFFONTV on TV.
Welcome back to the show. This remains Catholic Faith Forum, and today we are discussing the issue of gambling. Yes, because there's always a division. People are on the fence. Some people don't know about it. Some people see it as nothing. So we're going to discuss it and try to at least understand what the church believes about this issue. So let's understand, what is gambling first of all?
Gambling, first of all, is the whole idea of staking something as a bet in order to, in a way, first of all, get something more valuable than what you're staking, and having fun generally, just wanting that whole excitement of, oh, this is up for grabs, and then I stake something of value so I can gain something in return. And that whole process of feeling hyped or feeling anxious for the outcome is all part of what we call fun, and the whole idea of wanting to key into probability.
But there is this thing about what you said. I'm picking a key word there, stake. The word stake means to put something down. It's beautiful. So I can stake my trust, I can stake my reputation on something. But so can you call such an endeavor gambling? Because if I'm staking my reputation, for example, on me, and I bet May can do this, I bet May cannot do this, I'm taking my reputation.
I feel it's a gamble because, especially if you're not, you can never be 100% sure that I will actually deliver. So you're just taking something on me. Who knows, I might try to fall your hand.
But technically, in this sense of gambling, we're talking about the game
Itself.
of gambling, where there is something that is up for grabs, and then you are staking something that is of value to you. You already mentioned reputation, but in this term, money.
Mostly monetary values or gifts or items of value. You can stake your car, stake your house, land, something of value, something physical.
Wonderful. So what kinds of things can you stake on? What kinds of games can you stake on?
Bet on. There are plenty.
Like
Sports betting.
Sport betting is the most popular one.
Yeah.
You have card games, you have raffle draws.
Lottery.
You know?
You have a slot machine game, or kalu as they call it.
There are plenty.
Something else comes out, fine. So there are a lot of things that can be betted on.
okay, beautiful. But is it now we're looking about the morality rather of gambling, because that's what we're discussing on the show today. So is it a sin to gamble? Let's just clear that out first. Is it a sin to gamble?
According to the Catechism of the Catholic Church, it is not a sin in itself, because the idea is basically to have fun, and just that whole idea of, oh, I'm putting this up, and then something, whether it comes or not, I don't care.
Well, like I said earlier, it causes a division. So why that division? Why?
Because
really?
Gambling in itself, just the act of gambling is not a sin, because you're doing it for the fun of it. But when that thing is no longer fun. It's not for fun. It's now like a basic need. It's a necessity. It's an addiction. Then it is a sin.
So it can become a it can become a case of people trying to eliminate that possibility of it becoming a sin. That's why there is a division within the church. Am I right?
No, I think the idea is that many times people move from the point of view of just fun or taking something that they can dispense with. Say, for instance, I see people are throwing hoops on bottles of drinks, and they say, okay, as many hoops as you can get onto drinks, you can keep those drinks. And they say you need to put 100 naira for that. And you look at it and say 100 naira is just very small, and you do that. And even if you win or lose, it doesn't matter to you. But when you get to the point where you use money that you cannot dispense with, money that you need to take care of your needs and the needs of other people, and stake that, and you know that you're doing this with no assurance whatsoever that you're going to make that money, and if you don't, something is going to suffer, I think that's where it raises a moral concern. So it's about using money that you cannot dispense with. The way the Catechism puts it, it says that if your betting or your gambling infringes on justice. Justice means there are certain things. Exactly, there are certain things that are demanded of you as a person. If you have people under your care, family, friends, parents who are dependent on you, and use money that you are supposed to use in taking care of them to stake in something that you are not sure if you're going to make that money back, then it raises moral concern because you are neglecting your primary responsibility, which is to take care of the family, which is justice. Justice in that case means taking care of them. They are the ones who have more paramount importance to you than whatever it is you're staking that money on.
In addition to what you said, to even those students that are giving school fees to go and pay, and then they take that money and say, oh, let's go and gamble this, and they lose everything.
Exactly.
That's the worst.
You have even kids who the parents send them on errand, and then next thing you know, the person uses the money to gamble because somebody just say, "Oh, you
can get double
money." There was a very funny story of a woman who just newlywed, and then she was going. The husband gave her money to go to the market, and then she saw people doing try your luck.
And she tried her luck.
To try her luck, and then the money went like that.
The money walked away.
The woman did not know whether to go to the market or to go back home. But then she went back home and then told the husband some stories. And the man said, okay, honey, take some money. And she quickly ran to the market to go and buy what she wanted to buy in the first place. So sometimes some of those issues can really raise concern.
I can see why the church is actually divided, because in itself it's not a sin, but it's like a pathway to sin, which is always what we are trying to avoid in the first place.
There's a thin line
between
it being just fun and it being a sin.
That's why most people will just tell you, don't even give any room for any debate. Once you say it may be a sin, it may not be a sin, people now use that as a legal and say, maybe they say it's not a sin. They say it's not a sin. Why?
Go and gamble their whole family's fortune.
So, especially in our day and time, with the whole craze for quick money and fast money, there might be a problem there.
Wonderful. And this also reminds me of the cardinal sin of avarice, because when you are tempted really to just make money and then forget everything else that is important, you are just interested in the gathering of wealth, you are just interested in the gathering of material things, and then you become very susceptible to avarice, you become susceptible to covetousness, when you start craving people's things as well.
So most people don't even understand what avarice means. Avarice means the overly love for money to the exclusion of the things that are the legitimate means of making money. So you're more concerned about what you're going to get, money, material things, sometimes even at the detriment of other people.
And at the detriment of your faith as well.
Yes.
Because if you give into that thought of money over everything, some people tell you money over everything.
Money over everything. It's actually the mantra that rules the world these days. Because
everything, you don't care who you step on, you don't care who you offend, you don't care who you hurt. All you care about is the money. So that's what
just like in Matthew's Gospel, chapter 6, verse 24, when it says you cannot serve God and mammon at the same time. If you are serving money, you're not serving God. So it is definitely a sin when it gets to that point. Because you are now looking, money is all that drives you. Your whole life is driven by quick money. Let me just get the money, and that's all.
And then people go to church because because of things they hope God will give to them. So I'm going to church because God should give me money. When the money doesn't come, what am I doing?
There are some people who actually prey on their bets. So that's another thing. Yes, there are plenty people. There are plenty people who stake something large. It might not just be money, it might just be something large on a bet. And then the next thing is, God, please help me. Let me win this bet.
Why? See, that is completely wrong because it is supposed to be for fun.
And it's a game of chance. It should be some.
No, it's a probability. It's a 50-50 chance. You may make it.
You
may
not
not
make it.
So why would you want to put
Now
yourself
put your
on
entire life savings.
such a situation where your life is hanging on the scale?
And that's just because they are going against what Timothy said in the first letter of St. Paul to Timothy, chapter 6, verse 10, where they allowed money to control them and it became the root of an evil that they don't even know about. Yeah.
Root of all evil.
All right, so we're talking about gambling and our spiritual life now. So how do you think it affects our spiritual life?
You already mentioned avarice earlier on. Once a person is so fixated on making money, on gathering wealth, or becoming materially self-sufficient, the other things suffer. It's just like any other thing in life. When you are focused on one thing more than to the exclusion, usually it's the exclusion of every other thing, there's bound to be a problem. Yeah. And when it is money, when money becomes the focal point for everything that you do, family suffers, society suffers, your own personal health sometimes can even suffer because you hear people tell you, they tell them, what's your health situation? You are not taking care of yourself. You are more concerned about money. The person say, forget it. When we make the money, we'll take care of our health. Mm-hmm. And that can become a problem. It can also become a problem in faith because you no longer see the need to give somebody something because I am more concerned about what I'm going to get. And that idea of wanting to satisfy myself, wanting to get, now makes it difficult for you to even know where you will now say, okay, I think I've had enough. You can never have enough because you just want to keep getting.
It keeps coming, it keeps coming, it keeps coming.
Because you don't have
feel
enough.
like I can put that
You always
money
want to
in
just
there
keep
too.
collecting
I
and
can put that
collecting
money
and
in there
collecting.
and get more money.
Every one of us has that experience of people who say, when I have money, I will give. That's not true.
You will never see that money.
Exactly, because there will never be a point where you say, okay, I think I've made enough money, now let me give.
Nobody ever makes enough money.
Exactly.
Even the richest man in the world still wants to make more money.
So you see, those are issues that can come up. So, and of course, our relationship with God, our religious life, our spiritual life is basically love of God and love of neighbor. So when you no longer have that love for the person that you can see, you cannot claim to have love for God whom you have never seen.
Okay, so there is a bit of, like I said, it's a divisive topic. And even churches, the body of Christ, we sometimes do all these games of chance to raise money as fundraisers. Schools do all these games of chance. Raffle draw, for example, there is a type of gamble where people pay for a ticket in order to win some certain prizes. There are gambles in themselves, and then nobody is assured of winning the prize. But people do this to raise money for events. The church does this to raise money for missions and all of that.
I think that's the intention is very, very important.
Exactly.
The intention is important. Why are we doing this? We're doing this to raise
money
for the development.
So is there good gambling and is there bad gambling? That's the issue now. Is there good gambling and is there bad gambling?
I think there's gambling in itself, and then there are attitudes to gambling.
Yes.
I think it should be more of attitudes to gambling than gambling in itself. Okay, so there can be people who are compulsive gamblers. There are people who are casual, occasional gamblers.
Yeah.
Okay, so people who are casual, occasional gamblers, who for them it's a thing of okay.
Just do it for fun.
Like it, or if I don't want to, it's not a real big problem. I think those people are okay, they are safe. But when the person feels the need that I have to gamble, then I think there's a big question mark there, because that's a problem.
Wonderful. So we've been talking about gambling all this while, and we've been sharing some wonderful experiences, some wonderful opinions. So we're going to take a look at a short video from a very good friend of the show who gave us her educated insight into what gambling is and how it affects human beings. When we come back from this break, where we watch the video, we're going to talk about some of the things she said and more. Don't go anywhere.
Catholic Faith Forum on TV.
My name is Dr. Charlotte Migwe. I'm a psychiatrist. Gambling, as we know, I'm sure we've heard that word. We use the word loosely, but in psychiatry, there's something we call pathological gambling. It's actually a psychiatric disorder, which is listed in the books. I mean, it's a condition in which people have this compulsive way of doing things. They put in money into a game, they get more money and keep putting it. Sometimes it becomes a compulsive act, almost as bad as a drug addiction, whereby people are hooked on it. They develop tolerance, what we call tolerance, meaning they've now gotten so used to it that it's part of them. And sometimes they do it to the detriment of every other thing in their life. At that point, it is a psychiatric problem because the person does not want to eat or drink or spend money on any other thing except the gambling. So it's an addiction and it's treated by psychiatrists when it gets that bad. Although there are others who gamble occasionally here and there, but when it gets, just like people take alcohol or smoke sometimes here and there, but when it gets to the point of being the only thing occupying the person's world and life, then it becomes a problem. It has a lot of effects. We group them into the biological effects, the psychological, and the social effects. Examples of the biological effects of gambling will include medical problems. I mean, people are sitting down continuously for hours. They could, obesity, cardiovascular problems, even stress-related things like hypertension and diabetes, they could develop those. Then under the psychological, we have anxiety. People have increasing levels of anxiety. Some even go on to have panic attacks. People can also be depressed because they've put in so much and lost a huge amount of money. And it could be very traumatic, such that they can even suffer from a post-traumatic stress disorder too. So I would advise young people to, these things can be done moderately. After all, sometimes during things like harvest programs or so, there's some form of gambling going on, but that's at that level. So it's important to keep it at that level rather than let it go further. In America, I know most of the states, gambling is virtually a common thing and they are having a lot of problems related to it, even suicidal issues. I was reading about that last week, that in Las Vegas, a lot of people have been found to commit suicide as a result of gambling. So it's important for our young people to keep these things at a moderate level. You all know that too much of everything is bad. So in that light, same with gambling, so that we don't develop serious mental health problems and physical problems.
Catholic Faith Forum on TV.
Welcome back to the show, and we just heard Dr. Charlotte Nwigwe tell us about how gambling affects our person. She made some very valid points and very salient points, don't you think?
She did.
I think so. One of those very important things is the health risks of gamblers. Somebody with a heart condition.
You not go and
kind of things. Yeah, even just watching the football match.
Games of chance is not for people that.
And then somebody puts his stake on that. That can be
exactly.
Really
you just see some heart attacks and some rat poison swallowing.
Because he lost it there.
Because it can be so painful.
Yeah, especially when you felt like, okay,
this was so certain. You are going to get it. You now put everything.
That gambling in itself is a game of chance.
So see, that's the thing. People forget at every point that it's a 50-50 thing. You can either win or lose, but people always choose to believe, I will win, I'll win.
And let's not also forget the marketing side of this whole thing. Those who are in the business of gambling are not looking to give away money.
Of course, they're also making their money.
So sometimes too, some of those things are manipulated so that they make more returns than they give. So one person may win, but then the money that they get as turnovers,
50 other people will lose.
Exactly. So those are things that people should also consider when they also want to gamble. Are the odds fair?
Yes.
Are the odds fair? You mentioned raffle tickets in church or in schools for fundraisers. Many times those odds are fair because the church...
You can actually see it. It's very transparent.
They can tell you that this is the reason why we're doing this. So whether or not you win or lose, you know that somebody is going to get that, and then you have already channeled that money or resources to some good and noble cause. So, but then when the odds are not fair, where somebody is actually doing it for profit and lies to you or gives you the impression that you are going to make something out of it, I think that is also there's a problem of justice there. There's a problem of justice there.
I agree.
So, okay, she mentioned something. When it becomes an addiction, it becomes a pathological problem, a compulsive thing.
Does.
So, and then from her going further on, she said pathological gambling has 3 effects on people. But first of all, how can someone know that he's tending towards becoming a pathological gambler?
Simple. I think it's very simple. You just wanted to gamble because let me just bet on this thing for the fun of it. I just put maybe 100 naira. I just put something that I don't really feel. So I know that if I lose, it won't really hurt me. That is fine. But when I now realize that, okay, at this point of my life, I am actually betting heavy amounts of money, and I'm doing it continuously. If I don't bet, I feel like there's something missing. You know, I feel the need. It's now a need to bet. Like I have to bet. I'm always betting. If I lose this one, I'll bet out more on top of the other one. You know, that is when I know that I'm addicted.
And you mentioned something about pathology. I think the biggest concern there is that the person begins to think that, oh, there is some heightened anxiety. You know, it becomes a high. Of
the thrill.
The thrill of wanting to, oh, I'm expecting something.
Some money.
Exactly.
Money that you didn't work for.
Exactly.
Especially.
Sometimes it can even be a competition between two people. Like, I staked higher and I'm going to win more than this person today. So yeah, there are cases, some people do very, very weird things. Really.
Yeah, and it's people that are driven to get money that they didn't work for. They just feel like, let me just get this quick cash. You know, we are in this era, we like the get rich quickly schemes.
And they forget that easy money is also, easy come, is easy go.
Easy come, easy go.
Exactly. And people, and you know, the problem with such people is that they're developing a mentality where they are, they don't see the need to work hard for anything. That's another mentality that they create, because when such a person says, I want to make this money so that I can set myself in business, that business does not last, because the person does not see why I should make this money.
The value of hard work is not there.
And then start up a business, and then I have to start waiting for people to come and buy goods, when I know that I can easily stake the money again and make something bigger than what I had made.
Some people might actually dispute that, because there are stories of people who have set up empires, if I may put it that way, or set up a family. Well, there are not many. There's maybe, if I'm to give my own pseudo statistics, I might be giving a 1 in 30. 1 in 30 is even too high. But there are stories of people.
Because I notice most people that get money through gambling, they blow the money so quickly because they believe I'll get another one. It's easy to get.
That's usually the common experience. That's the usual experience. People who make money from such means believe that the odds that favored them earlier
will still favor them
again.
They always forget that 50-50 thing. They always forget it.
And here the common experience you hear is that people say, oh, I made this money and then I plunged the money in and then I lost it. That's usually the common experience. And why would somebody want to lean on a probability that I can or may not make the money back? I don't know why anybody wants to do that. Maybe it's for the thrill of it, anxiety, because it becomes a thing in itself. That's a new high. The psychiatrist mentioned something about one getting into that problem of how do you want to say addiction, and it becomes the same feeling. You get the same feeling as somebody who is on drugs or on alcohol or something.
Yeah. You hear them say I'm on a roll.
Exactly.
It's like people that gamble cards. You hear them say I'm on a roll. I'm winning, and they just keep going.
It becomes a high of some sort.
There's no break.
So there is a funny stat I stumbled upon in the research, in my little research. It says that 4 to 6% of young people have a gambling problem. They are already pathological gamblers. They are compulsive gamblers. And then another 10 to 15% of those who are already gambling are tending towards becoming compulsive gamblers. So knowing all of this, should young people be allowed to even go near anything that looks like a gamble in the first place?
Well, for me, I will feel...
Because it can be fun, like we said.
Yes, it's fun. But it depends on the individual.
Mentioning young people at this time, this point in time, I think the question there is, should young people be concerned at their age with gambling?
They shouldn't even be concerned with gambling, because I feel anything you start off very early, it becomes a habit. So it's easier if I start gambling at 13. There's no way you won't tell me I won't get addicted at least by 18. Because if I start it as a game when I'm that young, when I'm still developing, because at that point, that is the stage of my life where I'm developing. I'm coming to know myself. I'm learning what I like and what I don't like. So if this is becoming a part of my life at that stage, definitely I'll become a compulsive gambler by the time I'm an adult.
We mentioned that young people are often impressionable.
Yes.
They are still in that formative aspect of their life. Whatever you learn at that stage becomes a part
Part of you.
And when you want to let it go or try to
becomes
overcome
very
it,
hard.
it becomes difficult, if not impossible. Some people have to live with alcoholism or drug addiction and try to manage it for long periods of time. Sometimes it even takes divine intervention before such
Yes.
There's always there are relapses and
exactly.
then
Because they started it way
because
too
it started
young.
at a very, very young and tender age. And I don't think anybody should ever expose themselves to any vice to the point where it becomes an addiction at whatever young age. It's important that you learn the right values, you learn to discipline yourself, you learn self-control, you learn the virtues of hard work, you learn the ethic of work, of labor, honest labor, so that as you go along in life, you're able to now say, okay, this is an easy way of making money. As much as it can be fun to try to see if I can make money, I should stick to the right thing, which is to work for whatever I am.
And they should see that it's not a career. Because I see a lot of young people today are trying to make a career out of betting. And
gambling. That's terrible.
it's
That's
just
really
completely funny.
it's actually funny, really. Okay, so let's talk about the social implications of gambling. Let's talk about the social implications.
One very important one is the fact that when somebody bets with money that they cannot dispense with, somebody else suffers for that. And then you get to the stage where the person, after betting and no longer has any means to bet, they now start taking
Other people's money.
You hear of people who steal in order to go and bet. And their excuse is, when I make the money,
I'll give
will
you back.
replace that money
Times
back.
2, sir.
So the question there is, does that person have the social consciousness that I am depriving somebody of something that is legitimately theirs, which is stealing, and then staking it on something that is probable, which is a 50-50 chance that I might lose just as much as I might get it, and often they lose it. That is why they keep going back.
It's actually funny that those who are not really good guessers are the heaviest gamblers, really.
No, you know, they said by the time you bet, let me say, for example, you bet 100 naira. On your first game, you win like 500 naira. You're like, wow. You now say, okay, let me bet 500 naira. You might be lucky or you might not, and you now win 5,000 naira. You say, ha, that is it. You now go and borrow money from others and stake 50,000 naira because you believe, I'm on a roll, I'm gonna get it. And then eventually, that's how it goes. And then you keep feeling like, okay, next time I'll get it. Even when you fail for the consecutively 20 times, you say, next time I'll get it. I think that's how it continues.
I think that's the problem. When people now begin to make a probability into a
Certainty.
sure means or certainty of making money, I think that becomes a very big problem. People need to understand that gambling in its nature, is not meant to be a business or a career or something that you should take as a preoccupation. It is meant to be a fun and pastime. And a pastime that you should also not take too much to.
Exactly.
Long, it becomes a part and parcel of you, and you want to continue.
Every time you have free time, you want to gamble.
You want to
Free
gamble.
money becomes a gambling money. That's not supposed to be.
But I say, even if you want to gamble at all, it should be money that you know you can actually dispense with, not money that you need for food. You now say you're going to be Jiki Gary for what? Money you need for anything. Just it should be spare change that you know that you won't miss at all. If not, that is not gambling
And
anymore.
I think even the need to gamble is already a problem. When you feel the need to gamble, then there's already an issue.
A big problem.
There's a big problem. One should be able to say, there are other things I could do. I could give this money to a poor person. I could give this money to a beggar. There are people who are out there who are hungry. The money that you think you can stake on a 50-50 chance, you can easily give to somebody who is hungry.
And a lot of people
the
need
person
that
will be
money.
Very, very grateful to
Yes.
you. So why would you want to stake that?
All right, so one last thing, but we're still discussing the social implications of gambling, though. You know, for example, let me put myself in these shoes now. I am a person who gambles. And I happen to be one of the hosts of Catholic Faith Forum. And, and then my job on here is to help educate young people like me and to spread the gospel in the best way I can. But I'm someone who gambles. What is your advice for me, basically?
Okay, if I get your example correctly, if you are someone who has an influence with young people and then you gamble, I think by the fact that you have a position of authority, you should watch what you do, because people are just going to follow you. Yes. We like to follow people, especially if you are a mentor to people. They will follow you because they feel, okay, you're doing it, it's good, let me do it. And then they might not have the same control that you have. Yes. So instead of making other people, more people go into sin, it's better you don't do it.
I think St. Paul in 1 Corinthians chapter 8 verse 13, has a very beautiful advice. He said that certain things may not be sinful in themselves, but because we may cause other people to stumble, we have to be careful. So if, for instance, as he says, eating pork can lead your friend or your neighbor to sin, it's best to leave pork. Not because pork is bad, but because it can lead somebody else to sin. And scandal is a worse form of sin than just what you do for yourself. So one also has to be concerned,
mindful of everybody.
So that's very, very important.
Wonderful. So thank you so much for joining us on the show today. We've been talking so much about gambling, and we've seen that the church is actually not against it, but against the abuse of it. Because when it becomes too much, it becomes a problem. So do you have any last words for our people out there, Friar J and May?
Well, I will say, know yourself. And don't gamble if you know you can't handle it. And even if you have to, make sure it's just for fun, nothing other than fun. If not, it's a sin.
If you ask me, because I'm here representing the church, I would say if you want to gamble, use that money to help somebody who will pray for you and give you a better chance at being fulfilled. Help somebody else with that money, and God will bless you for that.
Amen.
Amen.
All right, thank you so much for joining us, dear
Thank
people.
you.
And if you have more questions on this topic, we have our social media always there to answer your calls, to answer your questions. You can send us a message at CFFONTV on various social media platforms. And to catch past episodes of the show, we're on YouTube as Dominican Media Presents. And until we come your way with another wonderful and enthralling topic next time, keep being saints.
In jeans and shirts. See ya.